Chapter 1. The Global Freeze. 2027 The countdown to the apocalypse reads. 59 minutes and 23 seconds. Jiang Li, with a screw clenched between her teeth and a power drill in hand, stands atop a ladder to fortify the windows. A month prior, this countdown had suddenly appeared before everyone's eyes. Initially, many believed it to be a prank, and the authorities offered various reassurances to calm the populace. However, the soaring prices and monopolized resources incited widespread panic. For while news may deceive, prices tell the unvarnished truth. In a frenzy, people began hoarding supplies. Despite the government's attempts to regulate the situation, the cost of essential goods continued to skyrocket, and societal instability gradually emerged. On the internet, a cacophony of opinions erupted, while some expressed anxiety for the future. Others rejoiced at the prospect of the world's end. In the final hour of the countdown, chaos reigned, both on the streets and online. Some contemplated immoral actions in anticipation of the world's demise, while others, gripped by fear, frantically scrambled for resources. Most individuals chose to remain with their loved ones, cherishing their last moments together. Yet Jiang Li found herself utterly alone. Having recently graduated from university, she lost her parents in a tragic car accident, leaving her with a hardware store to manage. After a solitary year of running the shop, the ominous countdown began. She initially thought that the world's end might bring her solace, perhaps reuniting her with her parents in an ethereal paradise. But upon reflection, she realized that her parents, who had always cherished her, would undoubtedly wish for her survival as their only remaining link to the world. People often say that being forgotten signifies one's true end thus, as long as she breathes. As long as she holds onto the memories of her parents, they remain unvanquished. Spitting out another screw, Jiang Li remained composed, the drill buzzing in her hands. Flour has skyrocketed to $300 per pound, and that's not even including the markup. From the onset of the countdown, Jiang Li had converted all her funds into supplies. Regrettably, those funds proved insufficient against the relentless tide of inflation. The remaining money was spent on tools deemed essential for survival. She pressed the last thick insulation foam board firmly into the window gap, securing it with screws from the power drill, then used a pneumatic caulking gun to seal the opening tightly with a soft hiss. Wiping the sweat from her brow, she leapt down from the ladder. Surveying her surroundings, she had transformed the small room into a veritable fortress. With reinforced doors and windows, and interior walls newly insulated, she glanced down at herself. Clad in a custom, thick-cut protective work suit with numerous pockets, complete with durable knee and elbow pads, she was well equipped. Having moved an array of tools from the store chainsaws, electric saws, power drills, universal screwdrivers had consolidated them into 3 colossal toolboxes, and procured additional essentials such as air purifiers and filters. Uncertain of what the end of the countdown would herald, she pondered the myriad possibilities: a zombie outbreak, a meteor strike, or a volcanic eruption. Food, tools, shelter. She had endeavored to prepare herself for whatever lay ahead, confident that she could outlast the average person. After completing her preparations, she plopped down onto one of the large toolboxes, wiping her brow and glancing at her phone. The screen displayed news apps that had succumbed to overload, leaving a torrent of frantic comments. Who is rice? They'll pay $8,000 a bag. Please, I'm desperate for food. Spare us. In this world, money is worthless. I just want a Walmart. A week ago, wealthy individuals hoarded all the food, and the promised purchase limits are a ruse. There's nothing left in the warehouses. Damn, I was deceived too. The staff kept assuring me that supplies were limited and that I'd be prioritized for the next shipment. But the warehouses were empty. They've been stalling us. Cursed be the wealthy who have monopolized the market. Are we ordinary people to await our demise? What will happen when the countdown ends? An alien invasion? A nuclear explosion? Jiang Li turned off her phone, opting not to engage in the discourse. A month had passed since the countdown appeared, and prices soared dramatically. A standard 10-pound bag of rice escalated from $50 to $800, and yesterday it surpassed $2,000. The affluence swept through supermarkets and trucks, but Jiang Li had prudently stocked up on essential food items that were both life-sustaining and affordable, such as chocolate and compressed biscuits, barely accumulating enough to last her. Taking a deep breath, she glanced at the time. 1 minute and 10 seconds, just over a minute remained. Instinctively, Jiang Li steadied herself against the large toolboxes beneath her. What would transpire after the countdown? Perhaps it would prove to be nothing more than a farce, reminiscent of the panic surrounding 2012. In that fleeting minute, a lifetime of thoughts raced through her mind. Midnight, the countdown concluded. Jiang Li felt a moment of relief, as if nothing had happened, when suddenly, an overwhelming sensation of weightlessness engulfed her. The world spun. Time passed in an indeterminate blur. Whoosh! A biting cold wind sliced across her face like a knife, and Jiang Li snapped her eyes open. The once warm room had vanished, replaced by an endless, pallid expanse. Snow swirled in the air, and the wind howled. At her feet, a flickering campfire struggled against the frigid gusts, as if it might extinguish at any moment. What is this? Before she could fully comprehend the situation, a notification resonated in her mind, not heard through her ears, but imprinted directly upon her consciousness. Welcome to the extreme cold survival game. Earth no longer exists. This is your new home, and also your grave. The rules of survival are as follows. 1. Each participant begins with a campfire, your sole lifeline in this frigid abyss. If the fire goes out, the system will declare you dead. Indeed, without the fire, survival is impossible. 2. This is a tangible world. Hunger will lead to death, frostbite will lead to death, and a beast bite will lead to death. 3. Any supplies you hoarded cannot be brought here. Only items you had on your person or in contact at the moment of transmission will be retained. 4. Strive to survive, if only for the faint glimmer of hope. Jiang Li's heart raced. Supplies cannot be brought? Her thoughts immediately drifted to the affluent hoarders flaunting their vast stockpiles on forums. And she Jiang Li glanced down at herself. Her work suit remained intact. Most importantly beneath her, the 3 enormous toolboxes lay securely on the snow, albeit dusted with a fine layer of snow, undeniably present. Jiang Li exhaled, her breath forming a white cloud before her, though tinged with regret. For the sake of convenience, many tools within the boxes were powered, such as the expensive impact drill and reciprocating saw now rendered useless without electrical outlets. Yet, even so, the remaining manual tools and supplies were invaluable treasures. Jiang Li quickly composed herself, accepting her new reality. She distinctly sensed a surge of knowledge in her mind with a thought. A translucent, pale blue interface materialized before her, reminiscent of a gaming menu. Personal panel name, Jiang Li number, 1120 CN level, 1 ordinary survivor. Strength, 8. You possess greater strength than the average person due to prolonged labor. Agility, 8. Your reactions are commendable. Constitution, 6. Slightly malnourished. Spirit, 9. You exhibit an extraordinary calmness. Backpack, 16 slots initial. Backpack? Jiang Li gazed at the 16 squares displayed on the light screen below. She attempted to reach out and touch the toolbox on the ground, silently murmuring, collect. Whoosh! The heavy toolbox, weighing dozens of pounds, vanished into thin air in an instant. In the first slot of her virtual backpack, a miniature toolbox icon appeared, displaying a quantity of X1 in the lower right corner. Indeed, it works. A flicker of joy sparkled in Jiang Li's eyes. She then tried to silently command withdraw. Bang! The hefty toolbox landed heavily on the snow, sending a flurry of snowflakes into the air. This storage and retrieval process required no expenditure of physical strength. And within the backpack, there was no sense of weight regardless of how heavy the items were. This implied that her future excursions to gather supplies would be considerably easier. Jiang Li rubbed her hands, which had grown somewhat stiff from the cold, and turned her attention to the fire at her feet. It was the only source of warmth in this frigid landscape. Above the bonfire, a few lines of text floated, visible only to her. Basic bonfire LV.1 remaining burn time, 5 hours and 28 minutes. Current coverage radius, 2 meters, can shield against wind and snow. Upgrade requirements, 50 wood, 20 stones, 10 coal, 5 steel. Description: this is your lifeline, do not let it extinguish. Upgrading will expand the warmth radius and unlock additional building functionalities. An upgrade is necessary. Jiang Li furrowed her brow. Wood and stone were manageable, but where could she find coal and steel in this desolate wilderness? At that moment, a small wooden box half buried in the snow caught her attention. That must be the initial supply box mentioned in the prompt. Jiang Li did not approach immediately. Instead, she drew the handy pickaxe from her waist, gripping it firmly while scanning her surroundings cautiously. Once she confirmed it was safe, she strode over quickly. The wooden box was not locked. Jiang Li pried open the lid with the pointed end of her pickaxe. Inside lay a few items. Acquired. Iron axe X1 acquired. Poor quality black bread X2 acquired. 500 milliliters bottled water X1 acquired. Drywood X5 acquired. Cotton coat X1 acquired. Durable hemp rope acquired. Change of underwear X2. The items were pitifully few. Jiang Li picked up the 2 pieces of black bread, as hard as stone, and glanced at the coat. It seems this is the standard starter kit for an ordinary survivor. However, the system was considerate enough to provide even undergarments. The game system truly lived up to its name. She had initially expected the clothing to be in tatters, but upon closer inspection, she found them to be brand new and of decent quality. She stowed the other items in her backpack and donned the coat. The drastic temperature difference momentarily left her body in shock, but prolonged exposure without warmth would lead to hypothermia. Once clad in the coat, Jiang Li returned to the bonfire and tossed the 5 units of dry wood from her backpack into the flames. The flames surged high, enveloping her in warmth. Fuel added. Remaining burn time, 10 hours and 28 minutes. 10 hours. This meant that if she did not act swiftly, she would freeze to death on this icy plain in 10 hours. Moreover, the game hinted that if the bonfire extinguished, she would be deemed dead by the system. Jiang Li looked up at her surroundings. This area appeared to be a sparse, coniferous forest, with a few frost-laden dead trees not far away. Wood. A slight smile crept across Jiang Li's lips as she patted the toolbox beside her. Even if others have an axe, it would take them half a day to fell a tree. But it seems I have a handsaw and a fully charged chainsaw. Though the battery was limited, it would suffice to give her a substantial advantage in this initial phase. Chapter 2, Lumberjack. The cold wind howled, stirring up the snowdrifts and striking her goggles like fine sand, producing a crackling sound. Jiang Li donned the basic protective gear from her toolbox and stood in the snow, surrounded by several moderately stout coniferous trees. She took a deep breath, the crisp air filling her lungs. Vroom! As she squeezed the trigger, the orange and black lithium battery chainsaw roared to life. The swiftly rotating chain bit into the trunk of the pine tree before her. Wood shavings flew. The fragrant wood shaving.